Good afternoon, AP students, AP Research and Writing students. My name is Daniel Clark, and this is my project on Henry Morley's Ground in the Mill. So essentially, Morley's response is it's a piece that essentially discusses the lack of adequate safety and the safety precautions in the English labor mills. This Ground in the Mill was published in 1854. Sort of close to the time of Dickens' Hard Times, and so it sort of worked as a good companion to his work in sort of exposing these harsh labor conditions. And what's interesting is that even after he published this was during the same time, or I think just a bit after the Factory Act was published, which was sort of an act to sort of clean up and um, sort of provide adequate safety for the children working in those factories. Morley's position, it's clear that Morley takes issue with the current state of England's labor mills. Um, I mean, even in reference to the multiple deaths caused by the harsh working conditions, Morley laments, why do we talk about such horrible things? Because they exist and their existence should be clearly known. So it's obvious that Morley sees an issue and that he desires a change for these harsh conditions. And even in the text itself, he goes over countless numbers of cases where children have died um, by being exposed to this heavy and dangerous machinery. Um, there's a couple of them that are quite gruesome. For instance, one it says, a boy was brushing the dust from such a ceiling before whitewashing. He had a cloth over his head to keep the dirt from falling on him, but that cloth the engine seized and held him to administer a chastisement with rods of iron. That's just one simple one. But these are serious instances that Morley um, thought needed changing. So why write anything at all? I think Morley's motivation for writing this piece might have been to expose the harsh conditions, again, of the English labor mills, with the ultimate hope of affecting a positive change. Um, I think this was Dickens' purpose also, um, and which is interesting. These two came at the same time, and so I think both of them provide a cogent case for what needed to be done. Um, sort of this sort of unfit lifestyle for these children. I know Dickens spent some time working in labor mills. I'm not sure if Morley did, but these guys knew firsthand. I mean, through personal experience and I guess essentially what they saw others go through about these harsh conditions. Was his argument convincing? Absolutely. Morley uses sarcasm to hook the reader. He begins that it is good when it happens, say the children, that we die before our time. And then he goes on to say, these few thousands of catastrophes are the results of the administrative kindness so abundant in this country. They are all fruits of mercy. So essentially, this whole article is predicated upon the fact of is predicated upon all these cases of children dying, um, at the whim and the hands of this dangerous machinery, just because the administrative powers that be aren't providing the necessary um, safety precautions for these children. They're not building gates or just little things that would help save these children's life as they're working in these times in these places. And essentially, I think what Morley is trying to do is to um, have a more humanistic approach towards labor. Now, what I mean by that is he is essentially trying to um, provide the powers that be with a sort of a more human a more wholesome perspective of the human being, and that these workers, these children, are not just expendable, dispensable people. They're not just numbers. These are individuals that have lives and should be treated as such. And with that, the necessary safety precautions to keep them safe. It was an interesting article, to say the least, especially as I'm reading Charles Dickens' Hard Times. It's crazy to think that this was an issue back in the day, and in some parts of the world it still is. So hopefully we could affect a change as well, a positive change for those individuals as well. Thank you for your time.